Sorry, guys, I needed that, man. Guys, big up yourselves for coming on. Big up the XR. Guys, way too hot out here for me, you know. You know, hot in here like Nelly, man. It's way too hot. But, you know, obviously I did promise you guys a stream. And, you know, obviously it's about getting that content out. So, yeah, man, big up yourselves for coming on. Appreciate it each and every time. So, yeah, obviously news, Paul Pogba, Ansu Fati, you know, looking like they're on their way to Monaco. And to be honest with you, you know, I think that's not a bad move for both of them. You know, I'm a bit surprised that, you know, Pogba didn't really have too many other suitors, you know, if I'm honest. But him going back to France, yeah, big up DXR, bro. I'm all good, man. I'm all good. I'm just out in Turkey at the moment, man. And let me tell you now, man, it's just way too hot out here for me. But yeah, I'm getting through it, man. So, no, it's all good, man. Big up yourself for coming on. But yeah, Paul Pogba, Ansu Fati, looking like they're going to Monaco. And as I said, Paul Pogba for me, you know, and it isn't to say that Monaco, you know, aren't a good team. Because I think Monaco might actually be in the Champions League this season, I believe. Oh, well, next season, should I say. So I think, I'm not sure where they finished. But I believe they might be in the Champions League. So, you know, you'd think Paul Pogba, you know, going back to France, you know, trying to, you know, get back on track with his career. Because I still believe Paul Pogba on his day, you know, is still one of the best midfielders in the world, easily, if not the best, in terms of what he has. And I think this Monaco move could be a good, you know, career revival. And I think with Paul Pogba, has Paul Pogba got another move in him? That's what I want to know if he goes to Monaco. Because I look at Monaco and what Pogba is, I believe, if anyone knows, I think he might be 30 or 31 now, Paul Pogba. So you're probably looking at Monaco really as his last sort of chance in Europe. I think if he does move, I think you're probably looking at him going to Saudi, if I'm honest, you know. But I think the main thing for Pogba is just getting back playing regular football and getting himself back into that France squad for me, you know. And as I said, I think a player of his quality, you know, the fact that he's been missing football for, I think, is it what, just over a year, or maybe a bit longer than that, you know. I mean, he's lost out on his career, and a player like that just needs to be getting back to playing football as soon as possible, you know. So, yeah, I do believe that Monaco for him is a good move. I'm just surprised that, you know, you didn't see, you know, just the sort of the bigger clubs in terms of around Spain, Premier League, Bundesliga. You know, I'm surprised some teams didn't come in for him. You know, you're getting a player of his quality on a free. And again, all you got to do is look at the wage. And I think Paul Pogba is someone that, you know, is probably looking at football for him now as like a last chance saloon to kind of show everyone, you know, who he is. You know, for someone like me, I'm always going to rate Paul Pogba highly, regardless of him missing football and regardless of people that, you know, have a lot of things to say about him. But I think in his head, you know, he's looking at going somewhere, you know, and showcasing his ability. And again, he's going to be doing it in front, you know, of the French audience as well, getting himself back into that squad, because that French squad needs Paul Pogba. You know, Paul Pogba goes back into that France team and he's automatically their best player. So, yeah, for me, it's one of them things where Paul Pogba just needs to get back playing regular football. And as I said, the wage, you know, I don't think the wage will be, you know, a lot in considering that, you know, he's someone that is looking at football as I said, a career reviver. So, yeah, man, it's good to see him back and playing and looking like he's going to Monaco, you know. And then you got Ansu Fati. So, I mean, the Ansu Fati one, for me, I think him moving to Monaco, for me, is a no-brainer. And you know what? In actual fact, yeah, it's going to be good watching Monaco this season, seeing Ansu Fati and Paul Pogba lying up for them. You know, if anyone doesn't know much about Ansu Fati, you know, this was a player that was looked at as the heir to Messi's throne. You know, he was given the number 10 shirt, you know, and he came in, you know, obviously, I think he made his debut at 16 for Barcelona. I think at the time he was the youngest goal scorer in Europe for Barcelona. That's obviously gone to Lamine Yamal now. And I think Ansu Fati, you know, injuries have killed him. Obviously, the loan spell at Brighton as well. You know, I think that wasn't a productive loan spell. You know, I think injuries there and form worked against him. And obviously him coming back to Barcelona, you know, Lamine Yamal is the new star boy, and rightly so. And then you got Rafinha in the form of his life, Lewandowski. So Ansu Fati, you know, him getting a regular game time was a hard task, really. And if you look at the likes of Dani Olmo coming off the bench, Ferran Torres, you know, all these players there were all ahead of him. So I think it was obvious that he needs to move on for the sake of his career. And again, relinquishing the number 10 shirt at Barcelona. And that is definitely looking like it's going to go to Yamal. And the thing is, for me, it should go to Yamal. But I wonder whether Barcelona might look at it as keeping Yamal on 19 and letting him kind of still be hungry to try and get that 10 shirt, you know. I mean, I would still give him the 10 shirt, but I think it might be a case where, you know, you never know. They could like be testing him and saying, look, we're going to keep you at 19 and let's see, you know, if you got any more, if you've got the hunger still to try and get that 10 shirt, you know. But for me, I'll just give him a number 10 because he's rightfully earned it, Lamine Yamal. And yeah, man, what a player he is and what a player he's going to be. But yeah, I think Ansu Fati and Paul Pogba, man, that's two great signings for Monaco. And again, that goes alongside the likes of, you know, I spoke about Lamine Camara as well. And again, Lamine Camara, I didn't really know too much about, you know, and big up to Lit Talk Network, who told me to have a look at him. And when I watched a few clips of him, you know, I did immediately say this is a player that, you know, a lot of clubs need to be looking at, because I think in terms of what I saw, you know, the fact that he's very good in the first phase of play, you know, he's press resistant and he's composed on the ball. And against England, when Senegal played them, he kind of showed that as well. So to think that Pogba's game Monaco with Fati, you got Lamine Camara there. I think you got ex-Southampton centre-back as well, Mohamed Salisu. Who else is over there? I think, what's his name? Bril Mbolo, I think might be there as well. So yeah, I think they've got some players over there that, you know, they'll be fancying their chances, you know, in terms of getting to the latter stages of the Champions League and doing well in the league. You know, I think PSG's still going to be the team to beat. But who knows? Monaco, obviously Marseille as well, got some players. You know, they could be a shock rivals to PSG. But especially with those two coming in, you know, it's all about them rediscovering their form and getting themselves back into the national teams, you know. Because again, if you look at Ansu Fati was a regular international when he was at Barca. You know, he was the preferred choice on that left-hand side. And now that left-hand side belongs to Nico Williams. And if I look at Nico Williams and I look at Ansu Fati for me, technically is a better player. But I think at the stages of their career right now, Nico Williams is ahead. And again, Nico Williams has been rumoured to be going to... Give me 1 minute, guys. Sorry, yeah. And Nico Williams has been rumoured to be going to Barcelona as well as Bayern Munich being the front runners for him, I think, at the moment. So, yeah, I think, as I said, Ansu Fati needs to get regular game time, get himself back into that Spain squad, which is, again, very competitive. And for me, Paul Pogba, once he starts playing regularly, you know, there's no doubt he'll be back in that Spain squad for sure, in that France squad for sure, man, because they definitely need him, you know. Big up to G from Washington. Yeah, big up G. Big up to Daniela as well. Big up to Sham each and every time. Yeah, guys, big up yourselves for coming on. Guys, don't forget to smash that like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel at GavGoesIn. And guys, give me your questions. What do we think about Paul Pogba? So Sham has said Pogba's turning 32 in March. You know, I still think that's a decent age. You know, I think with someone like Pogba's never relied really on his athleticism, I would say, because... You know, I think because if you look at the build, big up to Barbara Joseph as well, because if you look at the build of someone like Paul Pogba, you know, and the fact that he is an athlete as well, I think a lot of people think that he's someone that should be a box-to-box midfielder because of the attributes that he has. But Paul Pogba is a highly technical player, you know, and someone like him, you know, he can spray passes, you know, he can shoot, you know, he's got great dribbling, you know, great first touch. Like, he can do literally everything. So I think... Even with the physicality side of it, you know, he's someone that's very, very fortunate because his quality is someone that is definitely on his side, you know. And even if he doesn't get up to speed, to start with in terms of the pace of the game, 100%, his quality is going to be there for all to see, man. So yeah, that's a very good move from Monaco. And guys, if anyone knows who's Monaco's coach, I can't remember who their coach is. Let me know in the chat. Yeah, big up to Bushman, big up to Agnes 14 Inish as well. Guys, come on, make sure you smash that like button. It's at least try and get the 10 to 10 likes. And give me your questions. Give me your questions. Tell me what you think of Paul Pogba and Ansu Fati going to Monaco. Obviously, they're on their way going to Monaco from the reports that I've read. So DXR says Pogba will do well at Monaco. Yeah, listen, I agree. I agree. I think, as I said earlier, I think I'm surprised that there isn't many teams that have come in for Pogba. I definitely thought there would have been other suitors, especially that you're getting someone of his level, on a free transfer. But I don't know, maybe there's teams out there that don't really want to take a risk with someone that's been out of football for a little while. I mean, that's not a risk that you're taking because, as I said, all he's got to do is get back up to match sharpness and you're getting one of the best players in the world. Definitely one of the best midfielders in his position, so I'm just surprised. But who knows, maybe, he had a preference, but it's looking like Monaco are pushing on with getting Pogba and Ansu Fati. So yeah, I definitely do think he'll do well. There's no doubt in that, So Sham says both moves make sense for both players to get their career back up. Yeah, I think, especially with I think more Ansu Fati more than Pogba, because Pogba's status in the game will always be there. It is still there, because if people are being serious, they will know that Pogba is still, one of the top talents in the world, And I think it's one of them things where they're not doubting his ability. It's more of the hunger, more of the fitness side of it. And I do still believe that he has got it in him, 100%. But yeah, I think more Ansu Fati, because Ansu Fati's career stalled, and at Barcelona, he was getting pity minutes, let's be honest. And there was even times where you can clearly tell he was the last attacker to come on the pitch. And I think Hansi Flick, did think Fati was good, but I think, he obviously preferred other players. And this is why, for me, Fati has to get out of there. And again, I think Fati's definitely got another move in him, but Monaco's a good place to start for him to kind of prove, he's still got the credentials. And I think Ansu Fati as well, I believe, is still only 22. So again, this is a guy that made his debut for Barca at 16, and it just shows you time flies, because, this was a guy that was tipped, for the top, making his debut for Barcelona at 16, and obviously not shortly long after making his debut for Spain. But it just shows you, man, football's a short career, and injuries, loss of form, it can all go downhill from there, But I do believe, as I said, Ansu Fati is going to rediscover, some of that form that once had people talking about him. And Monaco's a good club for him, French football, very competitive. He's playing for one of the most competitive teams in the league. And again, if you look at, if you look at some of the players that Monaco used to have, the likes of Bernardo Silva, obviously Kylian Mbappe, Benjamin Mendy, Fabinho, Radamel Falcao, Dimitar Berbatov, Anthony Martial. You know what I mean? Some of the players they've had in that team, Thomas Lemar, Digital Sidibe, they've had loads of players, and again, to get Pogba, to get Ansu Fati added to that, Cesc Fabregas, another one that's been at Monaco, Aurelien Tchouameni, they've had some serious players there. Probably one or two couple that I've forgotten as well. Oh, what's his name? Benoit Badiashile as well. So yeah, man, it's good to see these two, obviously moving on for the betterment of their career. And let's hope, especially in, I'll say Ansu Fati, because I think Pogba, for me, it's hard to see Pogba will get another move in Europe because he's going to be 32. So I think for him, it's more about just, as I said, just getting game time, getting himself back in that France squad. But for me, definitely, I think Ansu Fati's definitely got another move in him. But obviously, he's got to prove it with Monaco. So yeah. So Sham says Monaco's coach is Adi Hutter. I've never heard of him. Adi Hutter. Yeah, I've never heard of him. Never heard of him. But you know, I mean, if it was him that decided to get Pogba and Ansu Fati, then big up to him, man, because obviously he knows talent. So yeah, it's mad. What's the logic behind injury-prone players moving to new clubs and not getting injured as much? DXR, bro. If I reckon if they knew that, man, then you know, I think these things would be said. I think a lot of it is probably the training. You know, doing certain stuff. You know, the rest days. You know, I think a lot of that stuff goes into it. Because if you look at Man United, for instance, you know, Anthony Martial is a great example. Someone that was just getting injured all the time at United. And since he's gone to AEK Athens, and again, for me, Martial needs to get a move back to one of the big clubs in Europe. He's been injury free, so yeah, it's mad, man. I think if anyone knew the secret to that, then again, man, it'd be a lot better, man. Just seeing more players just fit and ready, available, you know. But yeah, it is crazy. And again, Ansu Fati had injuries at Brighton. You know, he's had injuries at Barcelona as well. Let's hope Monaco, you know, he's injury free, and see what happens. Sham says he managed Salzburg, Young Boys, Frankfurt, Mönchengladbach before managing Monaco. Adi Hutter, okay, I've never heard of him. First time I've heard of him. Yeah, maybe I'll start having more of a look at him. But yeah, that's someone that's new to me, to be honest. So DXR says, feel bad for Fatty, man. The fall is sad. Yeah, listen, as I said, man, yeah, football's a short game, man, and a lot of people have short memories, you know, and someone like Ansu Fati, you know, his career has just gone just like that. And to be honest with you, he's still 22, so he's still got a lot of time on his side. But these next couple of seasons for him are crucial because I believe, you know, if he has a good couple of seasons, if he stays at Monaco, I definitely believe he can get a move back to one of the top teams, whether it be, you know, back to Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man City, you know, United, if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know, Chelsea, maybe a Liverpool. He definitely has a big move in him, you know, because as I said, he's 22 and you know, has a lot of quality, but he just got to get regular game time. So yeah, the fall is mad. As I said, the number 10 shirt now looks like it's up for grabs. And, you know, the funny thing is, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if it went to Dani Olmo or Rafinha. And the reason I say that is because Dani Olmo wears 10 for Spain. Rafinha obviously wore 10 for Leeds, even though he's got 11 now. But I do believe it should go to Lamine Yamal, definitely. But as I said earlier, I don't know whether they might just keep Yamal hungry and make him want to even more earn the number 10 shirt from, obviously, which is obviously incumbent of Messi, but obviously went to Ansu Fati. But for me, just give it to Yamal. That's what I would say, you know. DXR says he needs a miracle. Football moves too fast now. The thing is, I wouldn't say Fati needs a miracle. I just think that Fati, what he needs to do is just get regular game time, because Barcelona is very obvious that he weren't going to get no game time. You know, because if you look at the attacking options, you know, Rafinha, Yamal and Lewandowski, you'd expect that to be the first choice next season as well. And obviously, if you look at the bench, you had the likes of Dani Olmo, who can play from the left, coming on before him, and Ferran Torres. So he was always up against it, really, and needed that move. So yeah, if he gets regular game time, you know, a couple of seasons in France, shows what he can do, you know, gets the numbers and the performances, then he's got another move in him for sure. I do believe that. And who knows? You might even see a PSG look at him, obviously playing in the same league. So, yeah, it could happen. Big up to Oyen Bitty. Yeah, big up for coming on, man. Guys, come on. There's only 7 likes, 8 of you watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do. And make sure you smash that like button as well. Oh, yeah, Eric Dyer. Big up, Sham. Yeah, Eric Dyer's moved there as well. Yeah, Eric Dyer went there, I believe, on a free. So, yeah, they've got some Premier League experience now, you know. And they're a team, Monaco, that looks like, you know, they're looking to challenge both Marseille and PSG. So, I think French football this season could be interesting. You know, definitely if Pogba goes there, I'll be making sure I'll be watching more French football. You know, because Pogba for me is that big of a talent, that big of a star attraction. You know, you can't help but watch more of that league, and especially what PSG have done this season as well. You know, DXR says, I thought you were gonna say Yamal. Yeah. I think I do think Yamal should get the 10, but you never know. Barca might be looking at it in a sense of, you know, let's just wait until give him the number 10. Let him at least do a couple of more seasons, and then we'll give him that as a reward. You know, obviously he's only 17 still, but you know that could be an option that they might do. But for me, just give him the 10. You know, that's what I would say. So DXR says, how would Fati have been at Borussia Dortmund? Again, that would be a great move for Fati for me. I think younger players going to Dortmund, you know, always seem to do well there. You know, I think it's one of those clubs where, you know, they give you the license to kind of just play your game and showcase your ability. And again, I'm surprised, you know, Dortmund didn't really go in for him. But I think if I look at Dortmund in the wide areas, they've still got Bino Gittins. You know, obviously he's interested in Chelsea. They've got a player that I done, obviously, in my next gen 50, Julian de Ranville. You know, he's still there. He's only 19. Karim Adeyemi as well. So they've got those players that can play on the flanks. So they might be looking at it as they're quite stacked in that position. And if anyone remembers, Yusufa Moukoko as well. Again, another striker that made his debut for Dortmund at 15 or 16. You know, he's another one that's kind of gone missing. You know, and he was someone that was tipped to be Germany's next big striker. So it just shows you, man, football moves quick. I can't even tell you where Moukoko is now, because he was rumoured to be going to Marseille, but I think that fell through. So, yeah, it's mad. But yeah, I think Fati would have been a good, would have been very useful at Dortmund, but obviously Monaco is the step he's going to be taking. Sham says De Gea was linked to Fabrizio. Oh, De Gea was linked to De Gea. To De Gea, Sham, yeah? So De Gea was linked to... I guess you're meaning Monaco. Was linked to Monaco. Fabrizio posted that 2 weeks ago. I mean, I've not seen that myself. Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, I've not seen that recently, but yeah, I think yeah, it looks like they want to get some Premier League experience in there, and it's not a bad way to go, really. You know, yeah, it's not a bad way to go. But guys, if you've got any latest news from around football, obviously, as you know, I'm in Turkey, so I can't really check any of the news. But if you've got any news, guys, make sure you put that in the chat, man. Is there any Man United news? I'm hearing Brian Mbeumo, you know, is close to Tottenham. You know, how's that working at the moment? You know, I think a lot of the time, you know, I think now it's like it's silly season really, because a lot of players are getting linked to clubs, but until players come out and just say, look, I want to go to this club or whatever, then, you know, a lot of it is just hearsay really. But yeah, man, it's just one of them things. Yeah, big up Sham, man. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, man. You know what? It's not. I wouldn't say it's the best holiday I've been on, but it's a nice little breakaway, man, for a week. So it was needed, 100%. And as I say, the weather out there, man, it's hot out there. So yeah, man, 100% it was needed. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the De Gea one I've not seen, but as I said, if De Gea goes there, you know, that would be another good move for Monaco, you know, and I think someone like De Gea, I don't think he's got much to prove in the game no more. He won't be getting his Spain place back no more. So I think for him, it's just about, you know, just getting football and yeah, just winding down his career really. So DXR says, Gav, I've got a question for you. Like Pogba, one career move to Man United ruined his career, surely. DXR, I'm not understanding that question, bro. So like Pogba, one career move to Man United ruined his career, surely. So like Pogba, one career move to Man United. Oh, okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, listen, again, many people have differences of opinion on this one, but for me, what I would say is that when Paul Pogba first signed for Man United, I, like many others, didn't see this happening because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you've got the best young midfielder in the game because that's what he was at the time, you know, and you've got a guy that is destined to go to the top, and Man United not in the Champions League. So I'm thinking there's no way they're getting a player of that level, even though he was there as a youngster. But I honestly believe that there was no way for Man United to get Paul Pogba back. And the fact that he came back, you know, just like many others, you know, I couldn't believe it. And I was excited because if you remember when Mourinho was in charge, it was Pogba, Ibrahimovic, Eric Bailly, and Henrik Mkhitaryan. So those four came in that window, you know. And to be honest with you, I would cry for having four players of that quality come into United right now. And obviously, again, when Pogba came there, you know, I was excited. I'm thinking, you know, you're getting one of the best players in the world in his position, one of the best young player in the game, and you're getting him at United, like who hasn't got Champions League football. And again, it just shows you the pull of Man United anyway. But for me, Man United wasn't set up to get the best out of Pogba. It wasn't, because people looked at Pogba as, you know, 6 foot, you know, physical, you know, could run all day. And I think they misprofiled him in terms of thinking that he's a box-to-box midfielder. You know, what Pogba should be doing right now for Man United, what Pogba's role should have been at Man United is what they've got Bruno Fernandes doing. If you look at Bruno Fernandes is allowed to do whatever he wants for Man United. That should have been Paul Pogba. The team should have been revolved around him. Because if you look at Paul Pogba's level and you look at Bruno Fernandes' level, it's night and day, you know. And Pogba wasn't given the luxury to be that guy in comparison to what Bruno Fernandes is afforded right now at Man United, you know. And that's the problem. You know, Pogba didn't have the team around him. If you look at the midfield he had an Asian Matic, a Matt Tominey, again, who wasn't a deep-lying central midfielder, and the Herrera, when he left Athletic Bilbao, was a central midfielder, but a technical one. He was turned into a workhorse by Mourinho, someone that I remember watching Chelsea play United, and his job was to stop Eden Hazard. I mean, that's not Ander Herrera's game, but Mourinho changed his game to being that kind of player. So, yeah, Pogba was failed by this club. There's no one that can tell me otherwise. And when you've got Pogba in a game against Liverpool at Anfield, and you've got Paul Pogba doing up shuttle runs on the wing, that just showed me the disrespect all there, because I think it was under Solskjaer. You know, Solskjaer had Pogba playing, I believe it might have been right wing, and he spent half his time tracking Andy Robertson back. You've got one of the best players in the world, the best player on the pitch, you know, doing shuttle runs, trying to do a job for United. And again, I blame the club. I blame Solskjaer for that. You know, Solskjaer did rate Pogba highly, but clearly not as high as what he should have been rated, because you don't let Paul Pogba do shuttle runs as if he's just any guy. You know, and that was a massive mistake on the club's part and on his part. And again, he was always seen as a scapegoat for me, Paul Pogba at Man United. But yeah, you're right, man. It's a mistake he would probably look at and say he made. You know, and this is why it's so important for, you know, players now, especially now, because you're not just signing for the club. You're more or less signing. If you're signing for the manager knows how to get the best out of you. You know, because I think a lot of players now are just signing for the club because of prestige of what the club used to be. But then when they get there, they find out it's a lot different to what they thought it was. You know, so this is why if you look at someone like Brian Mbeumo, you know, it's ideal for him to go to Tottenham with Thomas Frank, because Thomas Frank's going to play him for one. He knows how Thomas Frank wants to play, so he's got no worries there. You know, whereas if he comes to Man United, he is guaranteed to start, don't get me wrong, but it might be a case of, let's say the first 5 games doesn't start too well, because of the state United are in, you know, he's gonna be getting a lot of criticism. So whereas at Tottenham, Thomas Frank will be giving him every single opportunity for him to be a success there. So he's a prime example, really. But for me, yeah, I'm a fan of Pogba massively, And yeah, it is sad, man, to see that his career's kind of gone from, you know, United as a youngster, you know, them not respecting him, then him going to Juventus, then back to Man United, then back to Juventus, the doping ban, which obviously, you know, he got acquitted of. And then, you know, now he's obviously at the final club. He's going back to Monaco, which is, well, he's going to Monaco, should I say, which is, I think it's a good career move. So, yeah. But, yeah, to be honest with you, it is sad how his career's kind of gone the way it did, because I remember watching France under 21s when you had Pogba was captaining them. I think they had Pogba, Chouameni in there. Who else was there? Ibrahima Konate was there. Upamecano was there. That was the under 21 European Championships. Upamecano and Konate were the centre backs, and then it was Pogba, Chouameni, and someone else. I think Florian Thauvin. If anyone remembers Florian Thauvin, he used to play for Marseille. He was in the midfield, I think, or in number 10 position. And then the striker, I believe, was Jean-Kevin Augustin, I think his name was, and someone else. And I remember watching them, and Pogba won player of the tournament, you know, and he was tipped for stardom then, you know. And again, man, it's just a shame to see that he's not playing, because he should be playing for a Barcelona, Real Madrid easily. You know, there's no doubt in that. And again, this is the thing with Pogba. Pogba had the chance to go to Barca or Real Madrid before he chose Man United. So, you know, he went with his heart rather than his head. And the problem is now, you know, imagine if Pogba went to one of them two teams, you know, I'm pretty sure it'd be Ballon d'Or talks right now. So, but yeah, I think all we have to do now, he's going to be turning 32. He just enjoy the rest of his career, man, because, again, the only player that I've seen in football that has the attributes that he has in terms of everything as a complete midfielder is Yaya Toure. Yaya Toure, for me, was the most complete in terms of he could dribble, he could shoot, he could pass, he was strong, he had pace, you know, he could score goals, he could create goals, he was good on set pieces, he was a threat in the air, you know, he could do all those things, Yaya Toure, and Paul Pogba is identical. So, yeah, he's the ideal player for me that Pogba is closest to, you know. But yeah, that's my opinion. But guys, listen up. I'm gonna get back out to this sun, get back to this pool, you know, enjoy the rest of this holiday. But as I said, big up yourselves for coming on. You know, we've only got 8 likes, so if you haven't smashed that like button and you've enjoyed the content, make sure you do. It's only just one hit of that like button. And again, guys, when you hit that like button, it helps the channel to grow. So, and again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. I'm only 12 short of 1,100. So, so yeah, man. As I said, if you've enjoyed it and you haven't subscribed or smashed that like button, make sure you do. Big up to all the mods for coming on each and every time as well. I'm not sure when I'm back, guys. I might be back tomorrow. I don't think I will be, though. I might give it a rest tomorrow. But as I said, I've got some streams coming up. So I've got one coming up with Jonas next week when I'm back. Hopefully we do that next Monday, or well, not Monday or Tuesday coming up, the following week, and then the same again with Flawless as well. So I'm gonna get Flawless back on. So I'll be doing that week before. We'll be doing that at the end of the month. So yeah, make sure, guys, you keep an eye again on the schedule. And as I said, keep coming through, guys, giving me your questions and your support. It's appreciated every time. So yeah, but yeah, big up yourselves for coming on. As I said, keep an eye on the schedule, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.